So guys, I think we've just seen the worst. And I mean, the worst call in the history of sport. I think we actually might have just seen the worst call in the entire history of sport. And like, this is a shock that it is actually not Djonai Carrington committing a flagrant foul.
Djonai Carrington has been called the dirtiest player in the WNBA. She's been accused of everything from poking stars in the eye to intentionally injuring opponents with reckless plays. Her reputation for pushing the limits has made her the ultimate villain in a league full of new heroes. But on July 26th, the entire narrative surrounding her collapsed in a single jaw-dropping moment. She became the victim of a referee call so unbelievably bad, it defies all logic. The most shocking part? The reaction from fans wasn't sympathy, it was pure celebration. They said she had it coming. This is the story of how a moment of perfect, brutal karma revealed a deep-seated problem that threatens the very integrity of the WNBA.
That call on Djonai when Tiffany literally flew over her, wild. And then if you saw Paige's face when it was like, I think like 55 seconds left on the clock or something like that, and the coach was like giving them the next play, bruh.
The scene was set for a dramatic finish. The Dallas Wings were down by 3 with under 2 minutes to go against the Golden State Valkyries. In a season where every single win felt monumental, the tension in the arena was thick enough to cut with a knife. A deep 3-point attempt from Janelle Salawan of the Wings clanked off the back of the rim, and the ball bounced high, careening toward the sideline. Djonai Carrington, ever the hustler, sprinted after it. In a split second, she made a high IQ basketball play. Realizing she couldn't save the ball, she slammed on the brakes, planted her feet firmly just inside the boundary, and let the ball roll out of bounds. It was a smart, veteran move to secure possession for her team. She was completely stationary, holding her ground like a statue.
Hayes does not look nor play like she's 35. Okay, she be bringing it to them girls each and every night. She got that, acting like that face harness, okay, like to protect her face, her eyes, her nose, whatever that is. She be look like a dominatrix to me. I'd be like, bro, who is that? She looks like, it's giving Scarecrow. Or like a Black Raven vibe, okay, like a hawk. Like she looks like a bird of prey. Okay, and that's how she plays. She plays like a bird of prey, while the other girls in the court are just worms to her. Okay, they are bird food because she be cooking and eating everybody.
Erupted. Golden State's Tiffany Hayes, sprinting at full speed with a head of steam, didn't slow down. She barreled into the back of the stationary Carrington, launching her forward with tremendous force. Both players went crashing to the floor, with Carrington tumbling into the laps of the front row spectators. The collision was violent, reckless, and by any definition in the rulebook, a clear and obvious foul on Hayes. The whistle blew, and for a moment everyone assumed the call would reflect the reality of what they just saw. But then the referee pointed not at Hayes, but directly at Carrington. The foul was on her. A wave of disbelief washed over the arena. The Dallas bench erupted in protest. It was a call that defied all logic, a decision so baffling it felt like a glitch in the Matrix.
So the ball gets swung. Janelle Salon shoots the ball. It's coming out. So Djonai Carrington is just shielding the ball out of bounds. She's just shielding the ball out of bounds, as you do. And Tiffany Hayes tackles her to the ground.
In that moment of pure confusion, the typical script for a bad call was torn to shreds. Normally, a player wronged so egregiously would be met with an outpouring of support. Fans would flood social media with slow-motion replays, angry comments would be directed at the referees, and analysts would spend the next day breaking down the league's officiating crisis. But for Djonai Carrington, there was no sympathy. There was no outrage on her behalf. Instead, the internet exploded with celebration. The verdict from fans was swift, brutal, and unanimous. The top comments weren't about the bad call, they were about the player it happened to.
And was able to draw a foul. I'm like, what is this? I mean, she almost deleted freaking Djonai. I thought like I was really gravely concerned for Djonai Carrington's life and health. I'm like, did y'all not just see Tiffany Hayes just throw her body up against her and slam her to the ground? This is crazy. Literally slammed her. Djonai Carrington got pushed into a freaking old white man's lap because of Tiffany Hayes jumping on her like she ain't got no sense.
She finally got a taste of her own medicine, one user wrote, a comment that quickly garnered thousands of likes. Karma is the best ref in the league, another chimed in. Memes began to circulate, placing Carrington in ironic situations. Compilation videos of her past controversial plays were reshared with captions like, "For anyone wondering why nobody feels bad for her." The reaction was a story in itself. It created a powerful mystery that went far beyond one bad call in one game. Why would an entire fan base, and even casual observers, actively celebrate a player getting screwed over by the officials? To understand this bizarre and unprecedented response, you have to rewind the tape and examine the reputation Djonai Carrington had meticulously built for herself, brick by controversial brick.
Skylar's going down for a fast break layup. Djonai winds up and smacks her across the head, and Skylar is on the ground having a hard time getting up. But this was something where people are saying, okay, Djonai, this is happening a little bit too much for my liking. These hard fouls, these reckless plays are happening a little bit too much. And I want to show you guys one more play that was also in that game that actually injured Gabby Williams. Now, if you watch here, Gabby Williams is going up for a little mid-range jumper. Djonai jumps to try to block her, and she comes down to where Gabby Williams doesn't have enough landing space. So she lands in her landing space, and then Gabby Williams rolls her ankle.
The villain arc for Carrington truly ignited with one infamous play against the WNBA's biggest star, Caitlin Clark. During a game, Carrington was seen poking Clark directly in the eye. While no foul was called and Carrington claimed it was unintentional, the incident went viral. In the hyper-scrutinized world of the new WNBA, it cemented her in the public's mind as a player who crossed the line, especially against the league's most popular figure. But this was far from an isolated incident. The evidence file that fans held against her was thick. There was the hard foul on Skylar Diggins-Smith, where Carrington wound up and smacked her across the head on a fast break layup. It was a play that many deemed a flagrant foul, an act of unnecessary and excessive contact that had no place in the game.
So once again, Djonai Ratchet as Carrington is back at it again, being the dirty player that she is, man. So now we're pulling players to the floor by their hair. But what did we tweet earlier this week, everybody? Y'all fans swear I'm such a dirty player. I'm so over this narrative. But I just play hard as fuck, and I just make a play on the ball, and I'm tired of people calling me a dirty player.
Then there was the incident with Gabby Williams. As Williams went up for a jumper, Carrington lunged to contest the shot but landed directly in her landing space. Williams came down on Carrington's foot and rolled her ankle. It was a textbook, reckless closeout, one of the most dangerous plays in basketball, and one that leagues at every level try to eliminate. To her critics, this wasn't just aggressive defense, it was a pattern of behavior that put other players' safety at risk. The final exhibit in the fans' case was a clip that showed her seemingly pulling an opponent to the floor by their hair during a scrum for a loose ball. Each incident, viewed in isolation, might be debatable, but together, they painted a picture of a player who consistently operated in a gray area that bordered on dirty, a reputation she couldn't shake.
Points to this Dallas ball. But do you know what another referee called? So one says it's Dallas ball. Another referee, as you can see right here, Salon miss, Valkyrie's rebound. Apparently Tiffany Hayes got the rebound, and Djonai fouled Tiffany Hayes. Apparently Tiffany Hayes got the rebound and got fouled by jumping on Djonai Carrington.
As the accusations mounted and the dirty player label stuck, Carrington refused to stay silent. She took to social media to wage her own war against the narrative being built around her. She insisted that she was not a malicious player, but simply a fierce competitor in a league that was growing more physical every year. In one fiery post that revealed her deep frustration, she declared, "Y'all fans swear I'm such a dirty player. I'm so over this narrative. I just play hard as shit and I just make a play on the ball." This created a fascinating and complex conflict. In her mind, she was a hard-nosed defender, a gritty player doing whatever it took to win, something that coaches and teammates often praise. But to thousands of fans watching from the outside, her hard-nosed plays looked reckless, dangerous, and unsportsmanlike. Her defiant defense of her actions only fueled the fire. To her detractors, it painted her as not just a dirty player, but one who was proudly unapologetic about it, someone completely lacking in self-awareness. This refusal to acknowledge any wrongdoing, to even entertain the idea that her style might be problematic, made the eventual karma moment on July 26th feel even more satisfying for her critics. They saw it as the universe finally stepping in to hold her accountable in a way she refused to do herself, delivering a lesson she couldn't ignore or argue her way out of.
Djonai Carrington, damn, I didn't think it was this bad. She played for 15 minutes. It felt like it was longer. She had 4 points, 1 assist, and 4 rebounds. I'm gonna tell you why we should have won, okay? When it comes to the biggest lead, the Dallas Wings had 12-point lead. We blew a 12-point lead, whereas the Golden State Valkyries only by 2. They had 10 points over us at the most in this game. 12 versus 10 points.
Djonai Carrington's actions and the fans' reactions don't exist in a vacuum. The WNBA itself played a crucial role in setting the stage for this dramatic showdown. The league has been battling a crisis of confidence over its officiating for years, but with the recent explosion in popularity, the problem has been magnified. Inconsistent calls, missed flagrant fouls, and baffling decisions have become a regular feature of games, frustrating players, coaches, and a new, larger fan base that expects a higher standard. The league's handling of Carrington's behavior in particular only made things worse. On multiple occasions, she was assessed a flagrant foul on the court by the referees, only for the league office to quietly rescind the foul days later after a review. To the league, this may have been a simple procedural correction, a matter of interpreting rules away from the heat of the moment. But to the public, it looked like weakness and inconsistency. It sent a message that Carrington's aggressive style of play was, in the end, permissible. It undermined the authority of the on-court officials and fed into fan theories that the league was either incompetent or unwilling to properly discipline one of its notable players. This perceived lack of accountability from the top is what allowed fan resentment to fester and grow into a full-blown inferno. If the league wasn't going to police her, the fans would, at least in the court of public opinion.
Is this? Look, pulling players to the floor by their hair is not making plays on the ball. This is not basketball. WNBA. When is she gonna get fined, suspended, or kicked out of the league for this reckless behavior? This is the 4th incident. The Lynx incident, taking out Ariel Atkins, taking out Skylar Diggins, and now the LA Sparks. When is it gonna stop, man? When is accountability gonna be taken for her being the dirty player and ratchet that she is?
This brings us to the true hidden cost of a bad reputation, a cost that goes far beyond any fine or suspension. When the absurd call against Carrington happened, it should have been a moment of unity. Fans, analysts, and even rivals should have been united in criticizing the poor officiating that tarnished a critical moment of a game. But that's not what happened. Her reputation had become so toxic that it completely overshadowed the injustice she faced. It acted as a shield, deflecting all blame from the referees and directing it squarely back at her. The great irony is that beneath all the controversy, Djonai Carrington is a genuinely talented and impactful basketball player. Her Most Improved Player award wasn't a fluke, it was the result of incredible dedication and hard work. Her defensive instincts are elite, and her offensive game has grown by leaps and bounds. But none of that mattered on July 26th. Her past actions had eroded any and all goodwill she might have had in the bank. The ultimate price of her reputation wasn't a financial penalty. It was the complete and total loss of public sympathy, even when she was the one who was clearly and demonstrably wronged. She was isolated in her own injustice. She discovered that her biggest opponent wasn't on the court. It was the narrative she had helped create, a narrative that was now more powerful than the truth.
All right, black and white sports reporters. Well, it doesn't matter how many times Djonai Carrington wants to get on her social media and want to claim that she's the victim and that she's not a dirty player. The league has rescinded fouls. Yeah, the league's rescinding flagrant fouls on you because it's run by a bunch of cowards. They're flagrant fouls. They're dirty plays. They're trashy plays. Someone's going to get very physically injured. At this point, Djonai Carrington, forget about it. You won't beat these allegations.
To truly understand the glee fans felt, you have to go back to the original sin of her villain arc, the Caitlin Clark eye poke. That moment wasn't just a foul, it was a symbol. In a season defined by Clark's arrival, Carrington became one of the faces of the aggressive, unwelcoming reception the rookie received from some veterans. But the contrast in their responses couldn't be more stark. When Clark was poked, she handled it with grace and downplayed the intent, focusing on the game. Carrington, meanwhile, has consistently adopted a defiant, confrontational persona. So when the phantom foul was called on July 26, it felt like the universe was finally balancing the scales. Clark had been the victim of a controversial no call, and now Carrington was the victim of an equally controversial, but opposite, bad call. It was poetic justice in its purest form. This incident ties Carrington's fate directly to Clark's. She's no longer just a physical player, she's a lightning rod for the entire old guard versus the new star narrative. Every hard foul she commits is seen through the lens of jealousy or resentment toward the league's new cash cow. This context is crucial. The karma wasn't just for her style of play. For many, it was payback for her perceived disrespect toward the player who is carrying the league into the future.
Like, that might be, like, that is the worst call I've ever seen in basketball. That is actually the worst call I've ever seen in basketball. She just jumped through her. Like, she knew. Like, it is what it is. People will shield or get in the way of the ball and stand there. She just jumped over the back. Worst case scenario, it's an over the back foul. Worst case scenario, it's an over the back. Like, it is at least a foul on Tiffany Hayes, if not a flagrant.
While fans celebrated the karmic justice, the Dallas Wings were left to deal with the very real consequences. This wasn't just an abstract moment of internet drama, it was a play that had a tangible impact on the game and their season. When the foul was called on Carrington, the Wings should have had the ball, down just 3 points, with over a minute left to tie the game. Instead, the ball was awarded to Golden State. The Valkyries capitalized on the momentum swing, scored, and ultimately won the game by a comfortable 10-point margin. For a team like Dallas, struggling to stay in a brutal playoff race, that one loss could be devastating. In a league as competitive as the WNBA, the difference between making the playoffs and booking an early vacation can come down to a single game. This bad call didn't just cost them a possession, it could end up costing them a playoff spot, home court advantage, or even player bonuses tied to team performance. It highlights how the officiating crisis isn't just about fairness, it has real financial and competitive consequences. It demonstrates how one moment of incompetence can potentially derail a team's entire season, turning months of hard work into dust because of a single inexplicable whistle.
You will not. Of course they're rescinding the fouls. That's what this league does. All right? Look, people can tell the difference between physical play and dirty play. And now there's a laundry list of evidence. Look, at this point, Djonai Carrington should have been suspended, fined multiple times over. Of course they won't. Now we're gonna hit you with a flagrant, and then behind the scenes we're cool. We're cool. We're gonna rescind the flagrant.
The most disturbing part of this entire saga might be what it reveals about the modern sports fan. Why were so many people eager to act as judge, jury, and social media executioner? The answer is simple. They have completely lost faith in the official systems of justice within the league. When the WNBA repeatedly rescinded Carrington's flagrant fouls behind the scenes, fans saw it as the league giving her a get-out-of-jail-free card. They felt their concerns about player safety were being ignored. When fans believe the system is broken and that certain players are being protected, they take matters into their own hands. Social media becomes their courtroom. This creates a deeply toxic environment where every physical play is endlessly scrutinized, and players are put on trial by millions online. The conversation shifts from what's the right call to who deserves to be punished. This is a dangerous precedent. It undermines the very idea of fair play because the narrative becomes more powerful than reality. The Djonai Carrington incident is a symptom of a much larger disease, a growing disconnect between a league struggling to maintain control and a fan base that feels empowered to deliver its own brand of ruthless, instantaneous justice. In the end, the story of Djonai Carrington's terrible call is about so much more than one player or one referee. It's a perfect storm of a villain's reputation, a fan base's thirst for justice, and a professional league grappling with its own credibility. The incident laid bare the raw, unforgiving nature of modern sports, where past deeds are never forgotten, and public perception can be more powerful than objective truth. This saga is a microcosm of the new WNBA, an era where every action, every foul, and every tweet is magnified under an intensely bright and unforgiving spotlight. It leaves us with a critical question. In this new world of instant karma and online mobs, are the league and its players truly prepared for the consequences? Because as Djonai Carrington learned the hard way, the court of public opinion is always in session, and it rarely shows mercy.